Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something, well, maybe a bit unexpected when we talk about relationships. We've got this really interesting perspective from engineer Tesfaye. He draws on like 2 decades of marriage, raising 3 teenage daughters.
Wow, yeah.
And it's centered on this idea like things a man is advised to always keep to himself.
Right. Which immediately might sound a bit off. Secretive.
Exactly. You might think, isn't honesty the best policy? But engineer Worku frames it differently, not as, dishonesty, but more like wisdom for a stable marriage.
It's a fascinating counterpoint, isn't it? Especially now when we hear so much about radical transparency, like share everything. So our mission today really is to kind of unpack these 8 specific areas he talks about. We want to understand the why behind his advice.
Yeah, see if there's maybe a different angle on communication and keeping things strong.
Exactly. It's not like we're saying follow these rules. It's more food for thought, an alternative perspective from someone with serious long-term experience.
Okay, let's dive right in then. First up, his fears and insecurities. Engineer Worku suggests men should mostly process these, privately. Focus on overcoming challenges, not necessarily voicing every single doubt.
It's an interesting take. The idea seems to be that constantly sharing those deep insecurities might plant doubt in your partner's mind, project instability.
Which he thinks might be seen as less appealing if your partner is looking for, security, strength.
Yeah, and it's a subtle thing he's pointing at, isn't it? It's not about never showing weakness,
Right.
but maybe about how you manage it, how you present it. Like, think about societal expectations, maybe outdated, but still there. Men as problem solvers.
A steady hand, sort of.
Exactly. So constantly airing every fear could maybe unintentionally make a partner question your reliability, even if that's not what you meant by sharing.
This is about showing resilience, even while you acknowledge challenges.
Precisely. It's that balance between processing internally and what you project externally.
Okay, that leads us kind of neatly into point number 2. The full extent of his financial struggles.
Money. Always a sensitive one.
Yeah, and again, he's not saying hide financial problems, but be measured. Focus on solutions, determination, not just like a constant stream of worry.
Right, because financial stability, or at least the perceived ability to manage finances, that often ties into that feeling of security in a relationship, doesn't it?
For sure.
So engineer Worku seems to suggest that while it's not about being rich, showing you're grappling with challenges constructively, that matters.
Rather than overwhelming your partner with the sheer scale of the problem without a plan.
Exactly. It could chip away at that sense of, okay, we can handle this together, if it just sounds like panic. It's about confidence, but confidence in the approach.
Okay, I'm on top of this even if it's tough, rather than we're sinking.
Yeah, something like that.
So point 3 then, his true level of emotional vulnerability.
This connects to the first point, but maybe goes deeper.
Yeah, the advice is be cautious, selective, about revealing the absolute deepest parts of your vulnerability. Keep some control over how it comes out.
The thinking here, it seems, is that while connection is key, right?
Absolutely.
Constantly showing extreme emotional weakness could, over time, maybe shift the dynamic.
Yeah.
Possibly erode attraction if the partner is instinctively drawn to emotional strength.
And what does strength mean here? Not being a robot, surely.
No, not at all. I think he means being a stable presence.
Yeah.
Like, you feel things, you acknowledge them, but you aren't totally derailed by them all the time.
Okay. Being an anchor for your partner, maybe more often than needing them to be your constant anchor.
Exactly. It's about managing that intensity, fostering support, not just dependency. Being emotionally aware, but also resilient for the relationship's sake.
Makes sense. Okay, number 4, his unfiltered opinions about her. This one feels, almost obvious, but maybe it needs saying.
Yeah, be careful with your words, essentially.
Right. Choose your moments. Think about her emotional state. Especially avoid comments that might make her question if you find her attractive or her value.
Absolutely critical. Words can land hard and stick around. He's stressing thoughtful communication. You might have a fleeting critical thought, we all do, but blurting out every single one, especially carelessly, that can do real damage to her confidence, to trust.
It's that old saying, think before you speak, but applied specifically here.
Yeah, and it's about constructive truth, maybe. True strength is knowing what needs saying and how to say it with care, not just word vomit.
Kindness matters, considering the impact. Okay, point 5. His temptations and internal battles.
Ooh, tricky territory, especially attractions to others.
Yeah. The advice: manage these privately. Self-discipline. Don't necessarily share every internal struggle of that nature.
The rationale being that sharing this stuff openly can just create doubt, insecurity, make your partner wonder about your commitment or their own worth.
Yeah, like, am I not enough?
Exactly. Engineer Worku's view seems to be that mastering these battles internally is actually a way of demonstrating strength and providing security.
Your actions, your commitment, speak louder than airing every passing thought or temptation.
Right. That internal fortitude, that unspoken resolve, can build trust more effectively sometimes than, confessing every flicker of interest elsewhere.
Okay. Point 6. His past romantic and sexual experiences.
The past. Always lurking.
Yeah. The advice is, acknowledge it respectfully, sure, but don't get lost in the details. Avoid things that invite comparison or make her feel insecure now.
The key word is now, isn't it? Focus on the present relationship. Dwelling on past partners, especially with lots of detail, can easily make your current partner feel like they're just another person in a sequence or constantly being measured up.
Damages that feeling of being special, unique in their place in your life.
Precisely. So honor your history. Yes, it made you who you are, but don't let it overshadow the relationship you're actually in. Keep the spotlight on the present. Got it. Acknowledge, don't dwell. Okay, number 7. His doubts about the relationship.
Not a really sensitive one.
Yeah, advice. Process these doubts internally first. Don't just blurt out every flicker of uncertainty.
No.
Only bring them up if they're significant, and ideally you've thought about potential solutions or at least a constructive way to talk about them. Vague worries are just damaging.
This really highlights emotional regulation again, doesn't it? Constantly voicing relationship anxieties can create this cloud of uncertainty for your partner.
Yeah, it undermines their security, which is often tied to feeling the relationship itself is stable.
Right. So Engineer Worku suggests, sort through it in your own head first. Then, if it's a real issue, communicate purposefully. Aim for constructive dialogue, not just spreading anxiety.
Process, then proceed with purpose. Okay, final point, number 8. His complete emotional vulnerability. This sounds similar to point 3, but maybe with a slightly different nuance.
I think so. Point 3 was maybe about the depth of vulnerability. This seems more about the frequency and reliance. Okay. So the advice is, emotional connection is vital, yes, but avoid constantly unloading all your emotional burdens onto your partner. Maintain some control.
What's interesting here is the unspoken idea that your partner isn't, or maybe shouldn't be, your only emotional support.
Like a therapist replacement.
Yeah, or just the sole repository for everything. He subtly points towards maybe having other outlets, good male friends, mentors, maybe actual therapy.
Because constantly leaning on your wife for all emotional heavy lifting
could lead to burnout for her. Overwhelm. And maybe even shift the dynamic into something less like a partnership and more like caretaker and patient.
Yeah, potentially altering attraction or respect. It's about emotional maturity, maybe. Taking ownership of managing your own stuff, too.
Emotional mastery, perhaps, not denial. That's what provides stability.
Okay, so let's quickly recap those 8 points from Eng.Tesfaye Worku for you listening. 1. Be thoughtful about sharing every fear. 2. Be measured with financial struggles. Focus on solutions.
3. Cautious with the absolute deepest emotional vulnerability. 4. Deliberate and kind with opinions about her.
5. Handle temptations privately. 6. Be respectful about the past, but keep the focus on now. Avoid oversharing details.
7. Process relationship doubts internally first. Communicate purposefully. And 8. Don't constantly unload all emotional burdens on your partner. Have other supports.
And he's presenting these based on, 20 years of marriage experience. It's practical insight.
It really makes you think, doesn't it,
Oh,
about the nuances. Do these ideas click with you? Do they challenge that idea that 100% transparency is always the goal?
Yeah, it's not about building walls, is it? It seems more about thoughtful gatekeeping, strategic sharing, being considerate.
Exactly. It's subtle.
It definitely leaves you pondering that balance in any close relationship, right? Between openness, vulnerability, and also projecting strength, security, not just for you, but for them.
Where is that line?
Yeah.
And does it shift?
Yeah, how does it change from person to person, couple to couple? Definitely some interesting stuff to chew on as we all try to figure out these connections.